Hello, hello. Hi. Welcome to our second stream of It Takes a Village. My name is Jex, and with me I have Garr. Let's see, we're still waiting for people to populate this, but if it's your first time here and you're just joining, It Takes a Village is where a beginner and a pro, if I'm pointing the right way, join forces to tackle hack the box content. Garr, do you want to kind of give a little bit about yourself and I'll do a little bit after that, but you're kind of like the star in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a lot. That's a lot to carry for sure. What's up, y'all? Good to see you. Second one, like Jack said, this is our second It Takes a Village stream. Happy to be here. I'm Garr. I'm a pen tester of all the things. My bread and butter is definitely AppSec, hacking all things web app, mobile app, thick client, especially Gen AI based applications for sure. But no, I'm a pen tester. I stream on Twitch. Well, I used to. It's been a while, but I streamed on Twitch and I make YouTube content as well too, mostly around Web Security Academy stuff and just web pen testing, bug bounty in general. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy to jump on another It Takes the Village. Jax, I'll go ahead and pass it back off to you to do your intro.
Oh, I'm just your lowly servitor here from Hack the Box, trying to learn everything that I can. I have like a foundational understanding of a lot of different things. I come from the IT perspective, but like we're always learning, like all the time. And I feel like I stumble into new things in security that I want to learn. But I feel like those moments where it's like I'm hesitant to really jump into it. It's nice to have like a hand to hold while I'm doing that. But that's just like, you know, the feeling I feel a lot of new people want is that sort of like one-on-one understanding from a person who knows what they're talking about. And so like in today's ITAV, we're going to be going through something that I'm really excited about because this is like Gar's specialty. Which is we're going through web vulnerabilities with a challenge on Hack the Box called OnlyHacks. That's kind of an application that's built to act similar to Tinder. And it was part of like a Valentine's Day challenge that we did a week ago. So if before we get into this, there's something that you want to know, just drop it in the chat and we'll try to be consistent with like any of the curiosities that you have throughout this. But yeah, before really diving into it, what is your kind of general experience with web pen testing and bug bounty, Garr?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, that's definitely my bread and butter. I mean, I've been a consultant for a long time. Like I think that's how I got my first start in the industry is consulting. And then top to a couple of different internal spots, but consulting is just my first love for sure. And it's always been so web app focused, web app, API, thick client, mobile app, stuff like I mentioned. And so this is definitely within my wheelhouse. Like on my stream, I do a whole bunch of challenges that are related to web, but with the goal of like, I mean, really the reason I got into pen testing or into streaming in general was to kind of, when I first started in the industry, it was definitely the try harder mindset for sure. And there wasn't as many resources as there are, I would say, nowadays. But now you have the challenge of really trying to find and parse all the information to find the best resources. And so I try to at least share my perspective and try to kind of, if I can, give some takeaways from how I tackle like web apps and things of that nature. So yeah, so my experience for the most part has been, I mean, I live and breathe this every single day. This is definitely
I know you've been
hacking web apps.
Literally been doing this all day so far and going to continue to do this later in the day. I just want to say hi to some of the people in the chat.
Yeah.
What's up, Bus Factor? Bus Factor is here. Speaking of people who just dropped incredible bug bounty bugs, you and XSS Doctor just posted an amazing blog. I think I reposted that. If you go to my X account, you'll see it there. Fix It. What's up, Fix It? Sorry that Nightbot did the bad thing. It keeps doing the bad thing to people. I don't know why. XNL, another nice. God, all the bug bounty people join today, especially for our web. hopefully y'all take away something from this. For me, it's going to be like just getting into. I don't want to spoil it yet. I have the bug in my mind that I want.
Mm-hmm.
I think
We'll
might
get there.
happen, but I didn't quite get there. So yeah, without further ado, let's bring it over to your screen. Let's see if we can do
Sweet.
that.
Let me do a couple more shout outs real quick if that's
Oh yeah, please,
cool.
please.
Looks like Aniziki was first. Pebble, I'm sorry, man. That was close, very close.
Oh,
Appreciate the
that's
effort.
Ani.
Very valiant.
Ani.
Oh,
Ani
Ani,
is
sorry.
Ani is one of my favorite people. Thank you, Ani, for being here.
Ani, very quick as well, too. I appreciate the speed there.
Yeah.
Pebble, welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you again. Finn with Gun, of course. Big shout out. It's good to see y'all.
Wow.
Jack. Yeah, a lot of familiar faces in the stream already, so I appreciate that.
Chad
Anyway,
B.
Yeah. Chad here?
Coming through on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Chad, good to see you. Shout out Chad for sure. If you haven't checked out Chad and Chad's stuff, Chad is great. Like, huge anchor of the community. Helps really support the other streamers in the community for sure. So huge shout out to Chad. Definitely check Chad out for sure. Much love, Chad.
Okay, so we can move into this. And the way that we kind of decided that we are going to go through this, Garr is the one who managed to tackle the challenge. I got to certain points of the challenge and just sort of like stopped. You know, have you ever seen a cat that gets picked up by the nape of its neck and it just kind of like goes limp? Like I saw, like my brain knew where I could go, but I was just like, I don't know what I should be doing to do this. So this would be like the perfect place for me to come to you with like all these questions. But I want us to walk up to that point first. So
yeah.
So how we're going to share your screen, you're going to be in controls. I am going to be pestering you with my questions.
Definitely feel free to pester away for sure, but I'm definitely excited to dive into this one. Let me see if I can get this rolling.
We're making Chad blush, of course, Chad.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right.
So, okay, I'm ready for the screen share that we could pop over. That's a good question. Should we question in the meantime? CK Elvin, great question.
Yeah.
Why do most testers prefer network pen testing than web app? Is it that challenging? And what's the best route for a beginner to learn web app pen testing? So from my perspective, I feel like network pen testing has always been the traditional route. You know, you learn like network admin or sysadmin or DB admin, and then network pen testing tends to be like that initial jump. Like I think historically, you had like organizations like SANS or offensive security have like OSCP and things of that nature. And so the resources available for network pen testing were things that were just more readily available. And it was somewhat more of a logical progression. But then as applications started being introduced into organizations, into businesses, and businesses became so application focused, like web apps, APIs, things of that nature just became they're just juicy targets. Like they're really juicy targets. And now that you have things like PCI DSS and you have requirements for pen testing for anything that handles like certain types of data, like PCI data, HIPAA data, things of that nature, now you have more need for pen testing of all the things. And so web app pen testing in general is something I think, when I say newer, it's definitely not newer. It's like it was way newer when I first started. But there's so much more resources available now, I would say, for web app pen testing. And I don't know, it's so funny. Whenever I talk to pen testers, like the network pen testers are like, oh man, I cannot do web app. And then the web app pen testers that I know, especially nowadays that started with web app, are like, oh, I couldn't imagine network pen testing.
It's I hear that too. Can confirm. Like I hear that often.
Yeah, even from the bug bounty space too. I know a lot of like there's some like awesome, just baller bug bounty hunters that just aren't really a big fan of network pen testing. I don't blame them at all.
We got two people in here that are too. Bus XNL? What do you think about?
I'm curious. Yeah,
doing network or enterprise like pen testing over doing the bug bounty. Also, Emma, if you can switch us over to the shared screen.
Yes.
Bless you, Emma. Again, everybody, chat. Eva is gracing us as our one and only mod, absolute superstar. Yeah, there we go. Again, something that I'm going to never done any pen testing. And I hate Active Directory. That's our legit. Good morning, fellow nerd. Hey, what's up, Neospring?
Neospring, what's up? Good to see you, man. Okay, we're in it. Yeah, so just to kind of quickly cap off that question, there's a lot of resources when it comes to web app nowadays, especially. Free resource, Web Security Academy is great. It's like the Web App Hacker V2 handbook that I have on my bookshelf, but now online with a lot of labs. And not biased at all. I'm just being honest. I feel like certification-wise, the CBBH has a really solid curriculum and exam. I really enjoy both of them. And I think that's a good logical progression to kind of give you that overall challenge, especially from an exam perspective, because it's something where there's no walkthrough, there's no, it's not like you could just obtain that. You have to really put the effort in to get that certification. And so I think the combination of those two are really, really powerful. And that's generally what I recommend for most people nowadays if they're looking at just web app, because you get to be exposed for free with Web Security Academy and then dive into that paid curriculum. So sweet.
Nice.
Okay, sweet. So
I'm usually right there. I'm pretty sure like part of my company wants me to be like also hack the box, but thank you for doing that for me. I think that speaking of, you know, getting into the intro of hacking things, this is sort of the concept of it too. One of our challenges is just based off of a lonely, you know, web application that they want you to try and take apart. Completely understand that sometimes this can be really daunting getting to like this point, and a lot of people haven't had experience with like looking at challenges. So like this is why we're kind of like starting from the beginning, because they are different than, you know, a Sherlock, or they are different than setting up like a machine. So since we're already at the beginning, we want to give you that sort of step forward. And I'm glad that we asked those questions. Everybody else, thank you. The mug. Yes, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
The mug. Shout out to Goblin and Ibsec. Hell, I agree.
But no, that's, and honestly, I mean, again, like I really genuinely, I think like as far as like the resources out there, I really think as far as certifications go and curriculum goes, like CBBH, not only best bang for the buck, but the content itself, you know, I think it's just so, the breadth and depth, I think are really good, especially for somebody really trying to dive in. So anyway, all that aside, to talk about the challenge, of course, you know, to get the boring but important out of the way is scope. You know, whenever you do these challenges, like Jex had mentioned, it's a little different than like a traditional hack the box machine where you're given an IP address, run an nmap, looking for exposed services on different ports that live on that host, or that are exposed on that host. A challenge is more similar or more akin to like a pen test or even like a bug bounty scope, where scope is very important. The idea of scope creep is bad, right? You want to be very cognizant of what you're targeting. And when it comes to the specific scope, you can see under the host section here, this is it. We're just targeting this specific host and looking at the service that exists just on this specific port, 34767. And so we're not going to run nmap on this. I mean, we could if you want to fingerprint the server and determine like, or do like some banner grabbing of what service is running. But when we interact this via a browser and then proxy that traffic to your interception proxy of choice, so burp in this case, you'll be able to see the server version headers and all the details there. So it kind of abstracts that. You wouldn't need to run nmap in this case. We're just going to stick to that specific scope. Do you have anything to add there, Jack? Any thoughts?
Yeah, for me, like I personally am so used to doing the you know, start out, I have an IP address, I want to go and I want to figure out what ports are open, and now just having that and getting to the site, it felt really like daunting for me, because I get here and I'm just presented a login page. And like at that point in time, my mind is like, okay, that's the kind of moment where the clip like hangs on my neck and I'm like the Siamese cat just going limp, like but I've kind of, you know, walked that back to an identity of being able to take things like step by step, like building, like how do you build a sandwich in 5 steps? You have the, you know, each individual part, and those parts have sub process. But think of the big thing first. What do I have? I have a login page. What happens on a login page? I give it a username and a password. Right now, we haven't even signed up yet, so we don't have an account. But the first thing I would try is like, I don't know, did the admin change the default password? That's what I did first. Got nothing. That's the extent of my knowledge. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I can leave now.
I was going to wrap it up. No. That's exactly it, though. It's funny. It's like web app. I feel like web app, even as you learn how to tackle different web app vulns, like targeting like a full-fledged web application is so daunting, man. It's like when you have a full application and you're like, where do I start? Like, how do I begin? And we'll kind of walk through that a little bit today, like how I personally like to tackle these apps, especially like if you're tackling a giant, huge e-commerce application that's got tons of like add to cart functionality and add to favorites and all the shopping. It's like where do you even start? And obviously this is going to be a smaller target, but we're going to still tackle it with the same methodology. That's the one thing I like about web apps or web apps, APIs, anything like that nature. You have a whole bunch of different frameworks, a whole bunch of different tech stacks, but at the end of the day, it is requests and responses. you have requests, you have control over, and you have a response that's returned, and that's it. And so as long as you understand that, as daunting as the app might be, is if you have that foundation of being able to handle what's in the request, it becomes a lot more approachable. And so, yeah, definitely a good call out there. But you're right, login panel. Let's see what we got here. So I put the target in, and like you mentioned, this is like a Tinder-based application where love is the ultimate life hack. And I have burp on the right. Let me go ahead and pull this up a little nicer. Burp on the right, target on the left. And so we mentioned scope, with scope being super important. So what we're going to do is just to kind of clean this up a little bit, I'm going to right click and I'm just going to add this specific host to scope. So that way we have, if we go to our target, we'll be able to see that this is the only scope. And what we could do is we could filter this. If I click on this little filter, I like to click show all at first because sometimes it hides like script or it hides like images. I like to see everything, but then I'll click show all and then show only in scope items. And actually, let me clean this up so that way it's easier for the video. You click show all and then show only in scope items and then apply. And then now I'm seeing every single resource, but just from my target. So you can see just going here and logging in twice sent all of these requests. So you can see all the requests and the responses. So there's a lot already, a decent amount already. Let's go ahead and close this.
I feel like a lot of this is just going to be sifting the information that we need.
Oh, is it backtrack saying my mic is a little low? Are you feeling that too, Jax? Let me see if I can.
I can hear you all right, but maybe, just it might not hurt. I'm just a loud person, backtrack, so who knows?
Okay. No, I kind of fluctuate in volume as well too, so I'll kind of keep it close. Okay, sweet. Thank you. Just want to make sure. But yeah, good stuff. So, okay, you have the request responses. It's all cataloged here. So as soon as we go to the web root, we can see it redirects us to /dashboard. A lot of things we're seeing here already. You just see the request, raw request on the left, raw response on the right. It redirects us to dashboard, and that's where you have the full HTML. When I actually sent that login request, actually this redirected us to login. When I sent that login request, that admin, you can see that request here. I'm going to bump this up just a bit.
Perfect.
And it sent a very basic post request, username admin, password admin. It's not using a JSON object. It's just www URL encoded, super simple post request. And we could see that we weren't logged in. Now, there's a lot going on here. I won't dive too heavy yet. I think what's important, like I have something that's commented out here too, but this is just a partial. Anyway, one of the things I like to look at first and foremost whenever it comes to like tackling these challenges is I like to just tackle it without you doing any crazy fuzzing. I'm not gonna lie though, I still get tempted to do like admin or you like single quote and A equals A or something like that. But I like to just kind of look at the whole app holistically, just as a normal user would, and then from there start making it do weird things or triggering error conditions, things of that nature. So let's try.
I mean, if you're just walking through it as like a person who's like, just being there, actively like operating it. I've seen like a lot of people who do like logic errors, who like they were just walking through the application on its own, and they make it do something weird because they do something they don't intend for the user to like try.
Right.
All right. Setting up your profile. All right, let's go. Let's give it all because that would give us like more data too, right? Hopefully.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Let's go to downloads. We'll do logo. And so we'll go ahead and add a profile picture. Logo.
To answer your question, OnlyHacks is a challenge that's set up on our main website at Hack the Box Labs. So sorry you missed it, but we started off on our one of our landing pages and we made our way over here. So it's just an app that got spun up in the meantime. So
Yep, exactly.
Thank you for asking that.
Good question. Good stuff. So we created an account. We could see the dashboard. Dashboard matches, likes, don't like. So what we're going to do is we're just going to like everybody because we're not going to discriminate here. We're just going to go ahead and click through.
Let's go.
Start liking everybody.
I feel like some of those are some of the coworkers. Like they look like some of the people that I know. Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Am I good? Okay. So we can see there's a whole bunch of requests being sent. And I like to keep an eye on this. I like to look at my browser, but also burp at the same time to look at what the requests look like, both via the UI, but also the raw request. So we're liking, this is the like request. We could see as we registered, it set us up with a token, like some type of session token here. And we can, if we double click this and do like Control Shift B, it base64 decodes, or I could just right click and go to convert section base64 decode. It'll show that.
Oh, that's handy.
Love keyboard shortcuts for sure.
Yeah.
Of course, this isn't technically a JWT for those who are familiar with JSON Web Tokens. Even though there's delineation, It looks like this would be the header technically. This would be the body, but in this case, it doesn't actually have. We can do something like this just to double check. But I'm going to look and see, is this something that would be a JWT, which is a certain type of like session. It's used for session handling mechanisms, or it's used as a session handling mechanism, but a certain type of token structure. We won't get too into the weeds on that. But just seeing EYJ at the beginning always like makes the hairs on my ear stand up a little bit.
Okay, so. EYJ. I'll try to keep that in mind too. And for anybody who's in chat who's like observing us today, if you have any questions while Garr's going through this too, I'll have mine eventually. If you have some, please throw them in the chat.
Sweet. Okay, cool. So yeah, we have this. So we were able to like things. So if we go back to dashboard, let's see if there's anything there. There's no one else to like. There's matches. So we have the ability to interact with any matches that exist. So it does show a match. We have Renata. So we can interact with Renata. If we click on Renata, it looks like there's a couple things that pop up. We have chat with a RID value, with an ID, which looks great. That's definitely piques my interest. We have a 101, which for those that are familiar is WebSockets. This is a connection upgrade, which are always fun to tackle for sure. If we go to WebSockets history, we can see there's probably somewhat WebSockets interaction eventually. If I go to the right, there we go. So when
Renata is me phishing you. Yeah, it is absolutely me. This is my other account. Sorry.
Go for it. You're good. So and then we can go ahead and interact with Renata here to see what that does. And it looks like it sends some type of WebSockets message outward, and then we receive a response, which is the actual response itself. And it looks like that is like the entirety of the application, at least that we could see from the UI. We're not really seeing anything else.
Dashboard and your matches. Yeah. So we can't even go to dashboard anymore. So that's gone. It sent all of the information that it needed to, and now we've kind of like moved forward with the matches. The matches where we're focusing, right, for the majority of the rest of this. Since I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, okay, we have only so many other places that we can like do something. Like the two things that are in my mind that we were talking about before. This is where I kind of like stopped. I was like, okay, I see something in the URL. I see something that I can utilize, the chat. Those were like the two things that I was just like, but what do I do?
Right. Yeah.
So we've done the kind of walkthrough. Where did you go from there? Because now I'm curious.
That's a great question. So, okay, so a lot of different ways we could tackle this, right? So, of course, we could do our traditional directory enumeration, right? We've tackled the application, looked at it normally from a normal app perspective. We see that it's not really, there's no back-end API requests. You just send a request, even the post requests, everything returns some type of HTML-like response for the most part. There's not like any type of API response. Like if we register, it just redirects us to an HTML page. And so one thing we could do is do some automation while we're doing some manual testing. So we could do like directory enumeration, for example, right? So I like to enumerate directories post authentication because I like to have some type of session identifier to determine what I can access, what I can't. Now, of course, if I'm a low priv user, I'm not an administrative user, there's a chance that I'm going to miss certain things. But there's also a chance that the response might say, oh, unauthorized, or it might redirect me. And so when I'm doing fuzzing or enumeration or anything like that, I'm not necessarily looking for this specific status code. I'm looking for a deviation from the norm. So if I go ahead and grab like a request, like if I throw this to repeater with Control R, or I right click and go send to repeater, then you can see I have this request here. And if I send this, it's chat and I have this ID value. This is a known good request. But if I do something like I do not exist and I
How did you confirm that, by the way, the known good request?
Oh, because it came from the proxy history.
Got it.
From here. Yeah, it was untouched from proxy history. I sent it once just to make sure it still gave me the response I expected. And then sending another request with the value that doesn't exist. Now I have this is a norm and this is a not found. And so if I go to like admin or something like that and it's different than not found, then there's a chance that it might exist. Like admin still might exist and maybe they've configured it in a way that always 404s. But I like to look at known good and not good and then find things that deviate from that and maybe they exist. From an enumeration perspective. Does that make sense? Any thoughts there? Or questions or anything?
Yeah, I do have kind of a different question, but it has nothing to do with like where we're at. It's more of like when I'm looking at a lot of these different requests. If you go back to the proxy and you see like the whole list of like war garble that's there, how do you decipher like, okay, I have the right status code. Status code, if everybody who's been on the internet has seen a status code at some point and like it has, an impact on your life or it doesn't. It's either you can't get the object that you're trying to look for or you logged in perfectly fine and then you didn't get anything except the web page that you're looking for.
Yeah.
But like in this case, I've always had a difficulty with web hacking just because of how much information is thrown at me immediately. So
Yeah.
I see that you're like, we're going to the post, login, 200, all of those things are like green lights, right? So that's what you see. Is there any other sort of identifiers that you're like looking at that help you determine where you're going to start?
Yeah, 100%. For real quick though, first shout out Hack Smarter in chat. I see you. Good to see you. Big shout out to Hack Smarter.
Answer a couple of these questions. Also, OX Slay, hacking tournaments. We're thinking about things. There's concepts of an idea of maybe something we might do, but keep that one in your mind for a while. Mook, yeah, like you said, Hack Smarter. Everybody, God, I'm so happy to see all of these faces here.
Oh yeah, it takes a village. The village is here. So
this is the village. Y'all are the village. And speaking of which, I'd love to have at any point in time, if somebody new is in chat, just say that you're new. There's a lot of really, really technical, really smart, very kind people in this chat who would also be willing to answer your question. We are more than happy to answer the question too. But yeah, you are surrounded by some pretty great people. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see you, Cypher. But yeah, to answer your question though, Jex, I almost unmuted myself. To answer your question, so whenever it comes to the web, any web app testing, and you look at this huge list of requests, there's a couple things that stand out to me. I'm gonna look at it from a very basic perspective first, and then we can look at it from a more like, I don't want to say like, well, basic's not even a great word for it, but I guess like initial perspective is a good way to think about it, and then diving into a more like in the weeds perspective. First things first, whenever you're dealing with web requests in general, like, or just web app testing in general, you only have control over what you have control over. That's a good quote, right? And for the most part, it's the inputs, any input fields. So post requests, get requests, right? You think about it traditionally: get request, retrieve data; post request, submit some type of data to the application, and then something is done with it, and then there's a response. That's not always the case. There are sometimes certain get requests that, in theory, could have parameters that would influence the response you're getting. Like, for example, a search, for example. But I like to look at requests that have parameters that I have control over. So in this case, login. And what I like to do, I like to take it, send it to repeater, and then it'd be like, boom, rename it, login. This is the request that I'm going to start testing because I want to test username and password. Another one is, for example, register. Send it to repeater. I want to test the registration functionality. So I'm going to go register, right? Same with like. We said like was another one. So like, this is going to be the like functionality. And you can color code these. Burp has the beautiful ability to be able to control things via tabs, different repeater tabs now. One big one that popped out in my head immediately was this. It was chat. And then maybe I might add like a couple little special characters. It's going to be like, hey, check this out first, right?
This is something that I was talking to you about before with like my difficulty with Burp is like there's a lot of functionality within Burp and it's very intimidating to like look at. And so like being able to like see this is helping me a ton because one, being able to structure what I'm looking at is important. If I don't already know how to like know what I'm looking for, being able to structure it is going to be that much more impossible for me. So this is super helpful. Also, Brains, welcome to the chat. First time chatter. That's awesome to see you here. Well,
new to the chat or new to the industry?
I am.
But there's a kappa.
It's true.
There's a kappa. So that's OG Twitch right there for sure. Zero Kieran, good to see you. But yes, so you touched on a really important point, and I think this is what works for me, and this is why I share it. So I got into this space to share what has worked for me. So hopefully somebody could find value in that. And so you might see this and be like, man, I really like that. That's a great thing. Or this is really useful. I could do this. Or you might look at it and be like, because you're looking at a very clean repeater state. For those in chat that are familiar with a Garr_7 stream, I usually have 200 tabs. And so, and people are like, you live like this? You know, like the meme. So like that is, you'll find what works for you for sure. And not everything will. And that's kind of really the goals. And so like for me personally, I like to just have it set up to where, I'm looking, that's the thing that stands out to me is if I see any type of request parameter, whether it be in the URL, whether it be in the post body or in the body of the request, I should say, that's where I like to fuzz. But that doesn't necessarily mean the header should be ignored too. There's different header-based attacks. There's cookie-based attacks. But you got to start somewhere. Don't overwhelm yourself. If you're just getting into this space, just deal with what you just have some type of game plan to test with those parameters first. And if you get nothing at all, then double check and make sure you really got nothing first. And then if you really got nothing, then it's like, okay, maybe there's some type of header-based thing I'm not looking at. Or maybe there's some type of cookie-based thing, because you really don't, it's really easy to overwhelm yourself by diving into web app testing. Just start somewhere, just stick with it, and then try to make sense of it. I think the biggest thing is like, when new testers jump in, I find that there's some testers that they'll look at they'll send stuff to repeater, and instead of 157, it'll be like 2 requests that they've sent twice. And because they're almost afraid to send requests, the only truth when it comes to testing a web app is going to be the server. The server is going to be what gives you the truth of what's possible. Like, is this vulnerable to SQL injection? You got to find that out, but the server is going to tell you whether or not it's vulnerable to SQL injection based off your testing. So you have to continually send a request. And the worst case is you take down the server or delete production data. But the worst case is you send a request thinking it's vulnerable to SQL injection, and it says, nope, I'm not vulnerable. But it's just one request. So you might as well just send requests. Just send a request, get that answer, fuzz with some type of intention. So yeah.
It's good to know. Also, hello, Weeb. You're new, and that's totally okay. Welcome to It Takes a Village. And I am also very new to what Garr is explaining to me. We're taking it step by step. Just to give you some context on what we're doing, we are going into a web application that's similar to Tinder, and we are trying to figure out what vulnerabilities it has. And so right now, from where we were to where we are now, we essentially have already logged in. We created our own account. And within creating our own account, we kind of figured out, okay, this is the functionality. We can swipe matches. And we swiped every match. We gave it all of the data that we wanted for like our perfect match. And we ended up here where we have these messages where, we are responding to somebody on the other end. And we are currently trying to figure out, okay, where do we go from here? If that helps give a little bit of context, that's kind of where we're at. We're also kind of learning a little bit about like the tool. It's called Burp Suite, and it's what web pen testers use, also bug bounty hunters use to be able to, really take apart what's happening when they're testing web applications. So that's whoa. That's where we're at.
You cooked it. No, you definitely cooked for sure. Very good recap for sure.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, we've covered a lot of ground so far, even though it's funny because like obviously we just looked at the app, but we've organized our burp in a way that we're ready to tackle this thing, Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to do some automation with some manual stuff happening at the same time. So I want to fuzz this. I want to do some fuzzing. Hold on. I want to do some directory enumeration. So what we'll do is I'll quickly pull up just some type of list. Let's see if I could do this. We'll do it like this. So what we'll do is we'll send this to intruder with Control-I, or you can right-click and send to intruder. And I'm just going to fuzz here. So there's a couple ways we could do directory enumeration. I could use Burp Professional or Burp Community, which can take forever. I can use a tool like GoBuster, DirBuster, things of that nature, right? And I'll show those different options.
And here. we're fuzzing directories, or we're fuzzing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just fuzzing directories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add this as my injection point. And I already highlighted and clicked add. And I'll just do payloads. I think I'll go ahead and do this real quick, which is going to kind of spoil a little bit. That is intentional. Oh, it's not there. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and we'll do, instead of simple list, we'll do runtime file. So we'll load a file here. And we're going to go to up. We'll go to Hack the Box. We'll go to OnlyHacks. You can see all the ones that I've done on the stream here.
So what he's doing right now is I'm assuming you're just preparing a word list to use for intruder. What intruder does is it basically goes off of this word list and tries all of those parameters. That's what it's kind of like brute forcing, right? All of these different things to try like OnlyHacks / like bread / CSS / all these things, right? Okay.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Intruder, and that's what it does. Intruder is a really useful tool within Burp Suite to just help with fuzzing. And the reason I like using Intruder personally is visually, I can dynamically change how I'm looking at this data. When you deal with like GoBuster and things of that nature, you have to either parse it a certain way or do a new command. Whereas with Burp Suite, I can just click on status code. Now I'm organizing by status code top down, or if I want to organize by length. And what I'm looking for is just deviations from the norm. So deviations from a 404 or 200, right? So these exist. This chat one is a redirect. There's so many different deviations. So we know anything that's not a 404 is going to be existent. So
yeah. So the status codes are huge and can help you figure out a lot more about what's happening with the server, right? Because those are just the server telling you, hey, I'm here, or hey, dude, I don't know who you are, or hey, what are you looking for? Like,
right,
that's
exactly, yeah.
And so, wow, dictionary attack. I haven't heard that in a very long time. But like, technically, you're using a predefined, yeah.
Yeah, in this case, it would be a dictionary attack instead of a brute force in theory, because we're not necessarily, when you think of traditional brute forcing, it's just like using a combination of different characters and like specific like allow listed or whitelisted characters, and then just thrown at it. So it technically falls under the concept of dictionary attack. And in this case, I'm just using a raft word list. We're not using any extensions. We're keeping it very benign. And I'm gonna let this run in the background. We actually got a 500 on matches, which is interesting. I think that's because technically matches expects a post request. And so since we sent a get request, the server isn't configured to handle that. So it returns a server error is my interpretation based off of looking at that.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so we're going to let this run. I like doing manual stuff while doing automated stuff. So we're going to let this run in the background. We're going to minimize this. Ignore that collaborator interaction that popped up.
Yeah,
and so
you
a couple things popped up. Yeah. I mean, you
didn't go through the right door. You're not supposed to be in that door.
Exactly. Not quite. Yeah. And that's another thing. Cyberdante. Fuff is another one too. You can use Fuff. You can use GoBuster, and I'm happy to show that show that off as well too. Is that something we want to look at, Jex, or what do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, cool. I think that for the URL one, I think, when I saw it, it was very different for me because we're looking at this from a view that is definitely like through burp. When I originally looked at the matches page, I just remember seeing like the URL plus equals this one thing, but this is essentially the same thing. It just gave me you give me a different context for it, because I was like, oh, I've been studying a lot about access control vulnerabilities and IDORs. I'm very, very basic level, and I was like, this looks similar to an IDOR. Like that means we can, if I put like equals 10 or equals 13, is there a reasonable chance that something pops up at somebody else's like thing? I don't know.
I like your thought process there for sure. Okay. And I think as far as an IDOR, it's definitely in a perfect spot to look for it. What I quickly pulled up on the left here is just doing the exact same intruder attack we just did, but instead of doing it in intruder, just doing it in GoBuster. So GoBuster, enumerated directories. This is the word list, this exact same word list. We're doing 20 threads at this URL, and we're outputting it to an output file. In this case, we're not using a cookie. We're just going to try it just to see it. I mean, I didn't get any hits with this, but just to show what it would look like. This is exactly what it would look like. It's a little color coded, so that's cool.
I always love seeing things run through the terminal. Oh, Root Hunter.
Yeah, me too.
Gave you a shout out. What's up? What's up? It's good. I love seeing this. Like, I think we have one of the best communities. I'm sorry.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. No, I think it's so cool to watch everybody, to see everybody and consume everybody's content, but at the same time, also like everybody's just so welcoming. Like for those in the chat that are just getting in the space, or even those that have been in the space for a while, if you're ever interested in creating content, highly recommend. Just because it's like being able to share your perspective with somebody out there. Like if one person benefits from it and you have an interest in sharing it, it's like it's definitely worthwhile. Like imagine like your perspective helps one person and lets them, or helps them get a career, or it changes their perspective on something and now they actually understand it, and it was because of something you put out there. Like that's sick. That's what it's all about to me, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Well, I'm sorry. Just before I forget about this. Hey, Root Hunter, what's up? I don't want to forget. We had a previous It Takes a Village to Learn, and I turned that VOD into a compressed video that is going to come out tomorrow. And then after we're done here today, I'm going to grab all of this, turn it into a smaller video so that people can consume that and upload it after our next stream. So we have this continuous like cycle, or I could try and do it a little bit faster this time, but it's turning 2 hours into like 10, 15 minutes. So it's a lot of cutting. It's very fun, but it takes a second. So yeah, I just wanted to remind people that that's going to be up tomorrow. And so let's kick it back. So the automation, and we got it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you got a great point here is looking at this ID value. Immediately something pops up. Now, of course, we have log in the test for things like SQL injection and things of that nature. We have register to check for things like XSS, malicious file upload, also SQL injection, things of that nature. Even mass assignment, maybe we can make a user that's an admin, whatever. But this is cool. Our ID is very interesting. And so if we render this, if we click render in the response, it should render our chat, right? And if we look, we could search for something like Renata, right? So what we're going to do is what I like to do is I like to use Burp's match and replace tool to kind of help me easily visualize things. And when I say easily visualize things, I mean this. So if I go ahead and paste this, H5, I click on the gear and go to auto scroll to match when text changes. Every time I send my request, I will now see the user's name or the person's name that I'm talking to. I'm seeing Renata. And so if I change this to a 1, for example, and let's say I got a hit and not an internal server error, in theory, it would just automatically scroll to that specific user, right? Or to that area that would show me, this is who I'm talking to. And you mentioned like insecure direct object reference, IDOR or BOLA, broken object level access control. Yeah. Anyway, so access control. So what we can do is we can. Oh, good.
Oh, just wanted to say hi to Hack the Box Brussels. My God,
nice.
I've gone into their chat a couple of times, so happy that you finally made it out here too. Also, Matthew, when it comes to web application pen testing, what certification would you recommend for me? Where can I start to learn? That is for me. This is like a Hack the Box stream, but I'm very much learning agnostic when it comes to a lot of things. I think that since I'm just learning right now, I have found a lot of utility in Hack the Boxes, like beginning courses for me to understand like how the web works. But additionally, what would you say, Garr? Because I know you've been through the entire process from beginning to pro. So like, what would you recommend?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'd love. There's a couple things I always recommend when it comes to just diving into web app pen testing. Like you said, I mean, learning agnostic, I think just taking advantage of the best platforms you can is important. Yeah. It's important to, I think the hardest challenge right now is trying to figure out what is worthwhile of your time, because your time's a limited resource. If you're just starting out and you're looking at trying to understand web vulnerabilities, I think Web Security Academy by Portswigger, who makes Burp Suite, is phenomenal. It's a free resource. It costs $0, and you can just go through and learn all these web vulns, but not only learn about them conceptually, but you have targets, like actual targets to practice. And so Web Security Academy is phenomenal. Definitely recommend them. And then if you find yourself really liking Web Security Academy, and like you mentioned, you want to go for a certification or you want to invest some money, I really do like Pen Tester Lab has a lot of good labs and a lot of good targets to kind of mess around with too. I think it's important that to take or to look at different perspectives when you're tackling something. Like for me, when I was first learning cross-site scripting, I had to like learn it 6 times for me to really understand what was happening. Like I still remember asking questions that made no sense when I first started. If I really understood what cross-site scripting was, I wouldn't have asked those questions. And then learning about it from different perspectives really helped. But if I'm being honest, again, like I understand we're on a Hack the Box stream, but I recommend it regardless if we're on a Hack the Box stream. But CBBH, the Certified Bug Bounty Hunter certification, is goated. It is solid. Like I think the combination of the material it covers, the depth it covers, the labs themselves are really good, and then the exam. I think the combination of all that is something I still recommend, because whenever I see pen testers that have tackled that cert and I throw an application at them, I can see that they have the methodology or at least have the understanding of the vulnerabilities to develop a working methodology. And that's the cert that I've seen the most success with when it comes to seeing pen testers actually, students actually transition into the career of pen testing. To be clear, like I do mostly pen testing. I've done bug bounties, especially Gen AI ones lately, but I am primarily a pen tester, and I've definitely seen a lot of success there. So I definitely recommend that for sure.
Yeah. The other day, I was actually talking to somebody who just reported like a massive bug on, I don't know if I could say the platform, but their name is XSS Doctor. Bus Factor is another person who is in the chat. I don't know if they're still here, but they both collabed on that bug. And when I was talking to him, I was asking to like what he like genuinely felt about the CBBH, and he is here. There he is. But XSS nice. Doctor, at first I was just kind of like, do you see value in it? Because I like to even test, like, even though I work here, I like to test people on, did you get the value you sought out for? And he was just like, yeah, dude, I did. And, I think it's a killer certification. I think that it's a killer like course to go through the modules. I'm like 15% of the way for it. I'm going to be honest. I did go straight for IDORs, like as far as like one of the different things that is like taught throughout it. But I do see utility in it. I do also see utility in like learning through Pen Tester Academy or the the Port Swiggers Academy, because that, like, again, burp scares the heck out of me, man. like every time there's like the one thing I turn on burp, I'm like, I don't want to be a bug bounty hunter anymore.
Oh no.
And so I think that having good resources all around can really help you get into that. Sorry, super tangent.
No, it's great. You'll learn to love burp, I promise. Like once you spend more and more time in it, it's like home for me. I love it. It's so good. Yeah. But then again, I've been doing this for a while, so
true.
Yes, so good, good stuff. So like I mentioned, the match and replace tool, or not match and replace, the auto scroll to match when text changes. That's what it's called. Auto scroll to match when text changes is huge, because then I can just send this request, always see this. So we could do this manually, or we can use Intruder, but I can go through and just change this ID, like you mentioned. If we get a pop, if we get something that hits, there's a chance that the ID has changed. Maybe there's something there. So okay, so in this case, we did get something that hit. Let's see if this is anything different. Now it's still Renata, so it looks like it's still the same person, but the RID has changed. Oh, okay. Well, you can see the name has changed, but the actual text, or the name is the same, but the text has changed. So if you go here,
saw something
this
there.
Is cool. Yeah, this looks pretty sick. And so if we look at this RID value, we changed it to 3. Let's see what that looks like. So there we go.
Hey.
So we technically got the flag. So yes, in this case, there is an insecure direct object reference issue where we can access other chats via the ID. I'm not sure what RID is. I mean, I definitely know it in the context of Windows, but in this case, I don't think it has to do with anything with that. It looks like it's just the ID of the specific chat that we're dealing with. And so RID 6 in theory would be the chat that we interact with Renata, and the RID 3 is another chat of another user, it sounds like.
Reference.
And so that looks like that's their value there. So
So okay. So that's what, there's probably multiple different ways to do this. We talked about this earlier, but for one path that we did this, because we don't want to put in the flag just yet, because then the challenge is over. But the one way, we logged in, we created an account, we used the application to go and find matches. The matches finally responded to us in the chat window. In the chat window, the URL above the chat window, we saw that it pointed to something at the end of the URL equaling 6. And within that, you went into Burp Suite. This is the part where I'll let you finish, because I was like, I know technically, but like you went in and you checked something. And
so in Burp Suite, so I like doing most of my testing in Burp just because it kind of takes away anything hidden. Anything that's hidden, I can just easily visualize. Like, we can go into Inspect Element, Dev Tools, and see it that way. But with Burp, it's just raw requests, raw responses, right? And so in here, whenever I see an ID value, we could do this in Intruder technically too. Like I could highlight this, Control I, and then I could fuzz this, right? I can go payloads, numbers, and go from 1 to, let's say, 15. And this could have been another way we did this, right? Was I could have just fuzzed this using automation to look through all the ID values. Like, for example, here is number 7. So number 7 seems to be another chat, or at least maybe another user that's registered and tried to initiate a chat. But 3 contained actual values and 6 contained values. So these are historical chats. But we just did it manually. We were already on ID number 6, so it's pretty easy just to manually go through 1 through 6 that way. But I mean, we just did it instead of via the browser. We just did it in Burp Suite directly. So
okay, cool. And Chad asked if we could do it with curl, but I'm pretty sure that you could also do it with curl. It's like the quintessential thing is that, like, you can just, because of how this server is set up, you can just, if you have the tool that allows you to interact with the particular type of request that, like, for the URL, you can have your statement with the correct ID that it's pointing to. In this case, it was 3, and it will shoot it back to you, right? Whether that's data or like somebody else's data, in this case, it's the flag. But that's just like the one of many ways to do it. And I love that about this kind of content, is because there's so many different ways that you could like really dig into it and solve it. But but that's where my assumptions really stopped. But what I do know is we do have a chat, and that's something that I was really curious
Yeah.
about, because that's input, right? That's just another way
Yes.
to just input stuff. So I don't know what I thought that I was just like, what do I do? So
Mhm.
what do you got cooking? I'm
Yeah.
curious.
So chat's interesting. So this looks like it's generative AI, and I'm not sure, but we can confirm it by interacting with this in a certain way. If I could say hello, for example, and I say start your response with the word howdy, right? It is a
Yeah.
greeting. It's still a greeting. If this is Gen AI, then in theory it could respond with howdy rather than anything. And so it did respond with howdy. And so it's not like it's programmatically designed to respond with
Yeah.
howdy. This is Gen AI for sure. And so what's important here is now that we know it's Gen AI, there's so many different ways we can go about it, right? We could start going down the rabbit hole of seeing if this has any plugins. We could try to see if what data is actually fed to this Gen AI solution. Or we could just think about it like a traditional, normal web app hacker that's never even heard about Gen AI. And we could do something like this. And we could try some HTML injection to see as we inject some HTML, is it rendered or returned in a way that's unescaped and resulting in rendering this within the context of a browser, right?
Okay.
In this case, it does, right? Now, I got to be really careful with this because if this technically works, every single time I load this chat, it's going to potentially execute any injected JavaScript if it's vulnerable to XSS. And so I don't want to do anything crazy by saying, hey, alert box, and then now I have alerts every single time I want to inject a payload. And so I'm going to try to be somewhat crafted here. So
okay, well, to stop you right there, so XSS, that might be a term that people aren't familiar with. What is an XSS? What does that stand for?
So XSS is cross-site scripting. The X stands for cross, because we already had CSS technically, which is cascading style sheets, was already taken. So XSS became the new one. And so basically what XSS is the ability to inject JavaScript into user's browser, like a target user's browser, leveraging the application. So we leverage the application to be the delivery mechanism of malicious JavaScript that we have injected ourselves. So, and that's really it. If you think about it, that's basically what it is. Now, technically, XSS isn't just JavaScript for those in chat that are technically correct, because technically correct is the best type of correct. XSS could be other types of client understood code, right? It's client understood code essentially. But let's think about it in JavaScript just to keep it simple. So in this case, we have what's called most likely a stored XSS, because our payload we inject. Well, hold on, let's take a step back. Technically, this is HTML injection, but let's assume that it worked.
Okay.
Our goal would be to inject this payload, and then anytime a victim user browses to it, the injected JavaScript would execute. So we can do something like using something a little bit more benign that won't be as intrusive. Like an alert box is pretty annoying. What we can do is we can do something like this. We can do image source equals A, on error equals console.log test, right? And so if this works, and we'll throw some double quotes in here just to keep it simple. And if this works, it'll technically be non-intrusive because it'll just log to the console the text test. So basically what this payload does is it tries to load an image of A. And then if that image doesn't exist, or if there's some type of error when it loads that image, it's going to execute whatever JavaScript is within these double quotes. So this is essentially what it would do. So if I press enter, this is going to work in my browser console, right? Most likely. And so we have tests there. We can try to type console.log test to confirm that it looks exactly the same. And then there's that test there. So if I refresh the page one more time, I'll go back to that explanation. You can see that it's not actually loading here. So that's interesting. It only loaded dynamically during that chat interaction. So what's interesting is it did execute when I initially sent that message, but now when I'm refreshing, it doesn't seem to be executing. Like if I inspect my element, I go to console, like I'm not seeing tests. So there's a chance.
It didn't store it, or
it does store it, but when it's rendered, when it's rendered when I load the page, it's actually appropriately escaped. So if I right click and I inspect this, and I go here and I go to edit as HTML, it's actually using proper HTML entity encoding.
So you'd have to shoot it the first time for it to work?
Yeah. So it only works the first time. Yeah.
Okay,
potentially.
cool.
We haven't confirmed yet. We have to make sure it works to the victim user.
I got
not
excited.
Just us, so. Yeah.
The golden age. Flashback to the 1999 CSS sites golden age, NeoSpring.
Yes. Good times. So yes, let's try it. So let's see if we can try a payload. First things first, we need to be able to confirm that the target this renders to the target user in a way that would be exploitable, right? We need to create a payload. So what we could do is we can do some type of just any type of interaction, but let's skip the step. Let's see if this works. Let's see if we can just go ahead and fully exploit that. Now, XSS in general, JavaScript execution in a user's browser, there's a lot of different goals that you could have. You could have something as simple as session hijacking. If this cookie is not set with the appropriate security flags, then you could possibly leverage XSS to just steal that user's session identifier, that session cookie, and then now we can use that session identifier, and now we are that user. So it's complete account takeover, account compromise in that specific case. So we can look at that here. If we go to right-click and we go to storage, in Firefox it's storage, in Chrome or Chromium it's going to be application. But what we can see here is we're looking for the HTTP only flag. You can see that the HTTP only flag is set to false. So what that means is JavaScript can access these cookies. So if I do, for example, document.cookie, you could see that it does show the cookie there. If I instead, just to kind of show this really quick, if this was set to true, instead, when I go to console and I do document.cookie, you would see nothing. So if this application was configured in a more secure way and that cookie was set with the appropriate flag, then we wouldn't be able to just leverage JavaScript to steal this. But luckily, it is set up in an insecure way. It is false. We just changed that just for demonstration purposes, to be clear. And so document.cookie is going to be what we want for sure.
Okay.
The thing is, though, we need to leverage JavaScript to be able to not only fetch that cookie, but send it to our attacker-controlled server. So let's go ahead and build that. There's two ways we could do that. We could leverage a paid tool, which is Burp Collaborator, or we could leverage a free tool, which is Request Bin. It's a free publicly hosted tool. Now, of course, if you're dealing with an actual client, you want to make sure you're using your own server. No shadow IT here. You want to use Burp Collaborator on your own servers. But what are you feeling, Jax? You want to do both? You want to do Request Bin, the free option? You want to do the paid version? What are you feeling?
Let's do Request Bin. Because I really want to be able to have like a consistency with like the burp trail, because I need to learn it. I need to do the thing. But if the free option is always good to me, I operate on free, but I'm assuming with the burp you'd be able to set that up in a way that you wouldn't have shadow IT, right?
Yeah, you can set up your own collaborator server, host it locally, set it up so it's exposed only on certain ports, and that way you have it set up so that way it can catch those interactions whenever it needs to. And so there's a whole bunch of guides online on how to do that. So
beautiful.
So free version it is. We're going to request bin. Real quick, Chad, good question. So when I'm testing in general, like web app testing, I do a combination of Firefox, but also I don't like Chrome, like Google Chrome, because it uses the system proxy. So what I'll do is I'll go to proxy intercept and use the browser. There's a Chromium-based browser built in the burp. I like to use that. So I either use that Chromium browser, or I use Firefox. Excuse me, because Firefox has its own separate proxy that's not using the system proxy. So, and then Matt asked a good question. Burp Collaborator alternative for Zap proxy. I don't know about Zap specifically. I mean, the request bin is an option. Technically, you could set up interact.sh. Is that what it's called? Let's check real quick. Interact.sh is an open source project. Oof, I'm using light mode here. Interact.sh is an open source project that you can leverage. It's very similar to Burp Collaborator, that it's a free alternative. You'd have to host your own server, of course, but you can. There's technically a plugin in Burp that you could download, an extension in Burp that interacts with Interact.sh, but it's the exact same thing essentially as Burp Collaborator. It's just a free alternative, so it's to where you wouldn't have to have the pro version of Burp to set up, use the collaborator tool. So,
got it.
Anyway, sorry, quick pivot.
No, please.
But yeah, so we're going to use this. And so what we'll do is we'll try to see if we can just build a payload. I always forget fetch off the top, but we're going to use fetch. We're going to use fetch, and we're going to make it, fetch is basically this API that we could leverage to, or in this case, the function of fetch, to send a GET request, and we're going to send it to this URL. But it's going to be this URL, which is our request bin URL, and we're going to add or append document.cookie. So what's going to happen is, if this JavaScript is ran, the browser is going to send a request, a GET request in this case, to our request bin URL and append document.cookie to it. I want to add a question mark there. Like, I got to make sure to add that question mark. Otherwise, it's going to send it to the resource plus the cookie, and that resource doesn't exist. But let's test it. We're going to see if this works. So when I send that, technically it's a promise that's not caught. We're not technically handling this correctly. But if I go back to request bin and then refresh, you could see that I didn't get it because I didn't technically send it correctly. So let me try to reformat that there.
Nothing happens perfectly anytime.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This is what we were talking about earlier, though, with the like things don't feel. I don't know if this is a conversation that I was having with you or somebody else, but I feel like things don't solidify with me unless I mess them up first. In the sense, like,
sure, yeah.
if I think about any sort of test I've ever had, I think, okay, when I get the answer right and I know it's right, I always second guess myself. But if I get it wrong or I've got it wrong before, I know it. I'm always just like, yep, learn lesson. That's the thing.
Oh, I think it's
sorry, a little side tangent about like just
good.
learning in general, but
I think it might be like, is this right? There we go. Perfect. Yeah, I just had to do it without the method there. Perfect. And so we have this. It's going to have my source IP, but using the VPS. The VPS saves us, of course. Not my first stream. And so this, you can see this request actually worked, and this is our session identifier. We can confirm that by looking and seeing it ends in VPPM. VPPM is perfect. We love to see that. So this technically works. And so what we could do is we can confirm that this is actually exploitable, is we can try to send this chat message. We'll use our exact same payload as last time. Image source equals A. On error equals, and we have to make sure that the quotes all match, making sure we're using single quotes, double quotes when appropriate. I'll throw this over here just so you can visualize it a little easier, but this is what it's going to look like. Okay. Image source is A, which is a non-existent image. And then on error, once that error condition triggers, it's going to send a GET request to our server and append the victim user's cookie. And so if this works, let's go ahead and see if it works. We'll go ahead and send it. Now the first one should be us. If it does work, it should be us. PPM. Okay. So we have a couple things here. We have PPM, but we also have this other cookie that looks to be different. And if we grab that first part, now this is a session identifier, right? If we grab, we'll paste it here. If we grab this first part that's delineated by that period or separated by the period, you can see it's Renata's cookie. So we actually have taken Renata's cookie. So now that we have this cookie, go back here. We can inspect element, go back to our storage, change the value of our cookie to Renata's cookie, refresh the page without the anchor tag. The anchor tag there won't let us refresh. And now we can see that we actually had Demetrius's message here.
Oh.
And so this was actually from Demetrius. But yeah, we've technically leveraged cross-site scripting to exfiltrate to hijack the user session by stealing their session cookie because the cookie didn't have the appropriate security flags, and now we are technically Renata. And yeah, GG's.
GG's. Okay. I have a question about that before I ask that question. Fix it. I'm going to totally. I don't know why, but like, I want this entire screen to be just our image of what we're doing. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. So it's just like as much screen capital as possible for all of you to see. And as long as you're okay with us not having our faces on here, if that works, perfect. It's just that in the amount of time that I had between then, I just kind of dropped the ball. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But like, that's the plan going forward, is like big screen, tiny boys on the side, trying to figure out complicated like web vulnerabilities. But yeah, thank you for noticing that. It's important that we keep making the stream like nice for you. I don't know what it looks like on your end. I have it on my phone. I'm watching the stream, but like, if it doesn't work for you, we want to fix it. What were you gonna say, Garr? I feel like you got something.
Oh no, I just decided you said tiny boys, so I, as Renata, sent a message to Garr calling Garr a tiny boy, and Garr responded with generative content. So I am now an AI.
Woo!
Technically.
Yeah.
I'm canonically a Gen AI bot, apparently. So
we're perfect. Hey Garr, you're a tiny boy.
Yeah. So if I switch back to me, it'll look like it came from me, which is weird, but it's cool.
But that's part of it. I love the weirdness of it. GG's indeed. I think the question that I had before I kind of like went on that tangent was, okay, so that was just an example of a exploit or multiple exploits happening at once. Hello. Oh, did we get a new?
I got distracted. Yeah, I got a new match. I'm like,
wait, what?
That's interesting. Yeah.
I've never seen that before. What?
Oh, but yeah, this is a new person.
Whoa. Did you see that?
Grade
I
11.
didn't. Oh, I didn't get this far on my run, but did you see this on your run before?
No, this is brand new.
Unlocked new content. Did you just make a person?
Did somebody in chat make a person that can interact with us? Because we just like them.
What?
And now I'm curious, like, what happens if we like ourselves? Like, if we like Garr, do we just match with Garr automatically? I'm curious now.
Okay,
We
now
do.
this is.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, we're getting too deep in the rabbit hole now.
Yeah, no, but like, I must create a box that shares same chat room. It'll be very funny.
Be wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that, so going all the way back, was that just one exploit, just XSS, or was that a chain? I've been learning more about chains recently. Again, I keep on dropping this. If anybody in chat hasn't already read it, go read Bus Factors and XSS Doctor's blog about a recent exploit chain that they did. It was really rad. It is something that makes me curious about this particular question too, because I feel my understanding of the identity of different web vulnerabilities is just sort of like the entire process of something or just one vulnerability, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a hard time having like a distinction between the two. So in essence, my question is, was that a chain? Was that not a chain?
No, that's a great question. And in this specific case, we've obtained the flag using two different individual vulnerabilities. So the first instance, or the first issue that we found, was an access control issue, where insecure direct object reference, where based off of changing this RID value, we were able to access a chat of a user, or a chat we weren't supposed to have access to. So to quickly recap, it was an access control issue or insecure direct object reference that allowed for us to access a different chat by changing the ID value from a known good or a known chat we were supposed to be able to access to one that we were not, which is number 3. So that was the first vulnerability. The second vulnerability that we discovered and exploited was XSS, or cross-site scripting. And that one, we basically injected a payload that, when rendered in the victim user's browser, loaded an image that was non-existent. And since that image was non-existent, it triggered the on-error event handler to send a request to our attacker-controlled server with their session cookie appended to the end of it. And so with that, we were able to, the exploitation, or the outcome of it, was session hijacking. But the root of the issue was a single vulnerability called cross-site scripting.
Okay. Perfect. That illustrates. So the 3 different parts. There's like the sub processes. You remember, for me, my mind is going towards like, what's big thing? Big thing is like the A to B, but what are the sub processes between that? And it's those vulnerabilities. Not necessarily all of them, but some of them to be able to do that. Emma, I'm gonna send you Bus Factor's blog, because I don't think there's people in chat who can post links. So I'm going to send that to you in private chat, and we can post it there. 1 second. Bus, can you send me that on Discord? I appreciate you if you hear me.
Yeah. Or you DM me in chat, because I have it too. So.
Perfect. Yeah, or that.
Either way, yeah. But so at a very high level, and there's still, what's crazy is like there's other things we can test. Like, we didn't test the login, right? Login technically could be vulnerable to SQL injection. Depending on what it's coded in, we could try stuff like this. Register could be vulnerable to things. There's so many different things that we can kind of take a look at. There's the Gen AI side of this whole thing that we haven't messed around with. Maybe there's some type of Gen AI related vulnerabilities. So there's things that we could take a look from take a look at from a Gen AI perspective. And so there's so much. I know it feels like it's funny, right? Because this application probably feels really small, but there's still a lot we could do with it. But then again, I don't want it to feel too daunting, because then it's like that's a lot to tackle. But I think what it is when it comes to web app pen testing, I didn't cover this earlier, but I like to look at things with the idea or the concept of looking at them from different workflows. So I like to look at, when I have a huge application, I break it down into different workflows. Like, for example, we have a login workflow. So the entirety of the enter username, follow that whole login workflow. Maybe it has MFA, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it uses single sign-on, maybe it doesn't. But that's an authentication workflow. And then I go through the forgot password workflow. And I write all these down as different workflows, and I test them individually and test each thing that I see. So, like, for example, this Gen AI workflow, right? We can test this request. It's using WebSockets. We won't worry about that right now. But I could test this. There's a couple things I want to test for when it comes to this. It saves these payloads or this chat history to a database. Maybe there is SQL injection when it saves to the database. This user input's reflected or returned to the end user. I want to check for cross-site scripting and maybe even server-side template injection. It's involving Gen AI. So I want to test it for Gen AI related vulnerabilities. Is there a prompt injection, indirect prompt injection? Is there a possibility that there's some other Gen AI workflows in the back end where it calls different tools depending on what I'm interacting with? And so, this is kind of pen testing or web app pen testing in a nutshell. You just kind of have these tools in your back pocket of like, oh, I check for SQL injection, I check for whatever, but you don't actually check for them until it makes sense. And that's when you start going down those paths.
That's awesome. That actually, thank you for that, because that helps my mind a ton trying to like break down. Because like I think that's the analysis paralysis kind of thing that I'm talking about. I've been talking about like the whole like cat thing, but like I get to this point because I don't have any of the bricks laid in front of me to be able to know what to do next. So like I know I can log in. I know I can do all of these things as a user, but what does the workflow from like a pen tester's perspective look like? And that comes through like research and finding like different blogs or watching different YouTube videos or doing different content. But like the workflow, even as you were stating, like all the individual tasks matter. I know that there are bug bounty hunters that they focus on a particular class of bug, and that's like their jam. And they go for that every time. They find every possible like part of that workflow, and they just go through that, like static or dynamic. They just go through and tear it. But as a pen tester, like from your perspective, you have like, I know there's like, this is like a whole thing that I've talked to people about for a very long time between web pen testing and bug bounty. It's just like, like what's the difference? It's like, there's a lot. I feel like you cover more ground and you're responsible for covering more ground, where like bug bounty hunters are like scaffolding things, like cutting things precisely into the ways that they want, or just show it like shooting automation at stuff. And that takes an understanding of knowing entire types of stacks and architectures and stuff. So I know we still have like more we can try, and we don't have a ton of more time left. We have like a maybe under an hour left of time with Garr. Garr is like, thank you again for always being here for these streams. It means a ton.
Of course, I love the opportunity. I mean, it's just really cool to just be able to just share the perspective and work with y'all and hack with you, Jax. Is always a good time for sure, and just interact with the chat. It's just nice to be back to the hacks and actually tackling these challenges and sharing the perspective. I love it, man.
Yeah, I so your workflow right now. I went through the two in my mind that I was just like, I wanted to see you do the XSS. I had the IDOR. That was like the one that I wanted. What's next for us? Because like now we're out of the scope of like what I was ready to do. So I want to see what you're cooking up, or what you can do.
For sure. Here. Well, so I wanted to touch on really quickly some of the points that you made, like the difference between web app and pen testing and bug bounty, and like the entirety of the scope. But I also want to take a step back too. I mentioned like tackling different workflows, then pulling out the tools of like, I test this for SQL injection. But one of the big things, especially for like those in the chat that are just getting into hacking web apps, is knowing when you're done. Like, right? Like, when do I stop? Like, how do I know I'm done testing for SQL injection, right? Yeah. And that's a hard one. Like, that's something that you really start developing over time, the more and more you tackle like these targets. And I think that's not something that's unique to pen testing. That's also something that you deal with bug bounty as well too. It's like, if I look at a request and I look at the inputs that I have to that request, like, how do I know I've sufficiently tested for it? I think that's an intuition that you do develop over time. But for the most part, it's really just going to be sending requests until you get the answers that you want. It's back to Zero Kieran's t-shirt idea, and it's fuzzing with intent. Like, you have to fuzz with intent. When you send a payload, if the application responds a certain way, then it's vulnerable. That's just how it is. Like, you should know, like, you should have an intent with every single payload that you send, because otherwise, why are you sending it? Like, what's the purpose? Yeah. Like, you want to be like, okay, if I send this single quote, I'm hoping that it gives me an application error, or I'm hoping that it gives me some type of different response code or different response status. Or if I send image source equals A, I'm hoping it loads a broken image, right? So you want to make sure that you're thinking about why you're sending each payload, and that will kind of help you get to that end state of like, I know I'm done testing this. So we can take login,
Okay.
for example, and do that if that's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said that, because like intent's important. I do a lot of things because I like to crash into stuff and see what it looks like, and if I get an error, then I can like work from that. Like I remember a lot of the time getting like status codes was something that meant a lot to me, because then I'd like read like more about like RFC, like an RFC, about like what all the different status codes mean. Mind you, do not read an RFC, like read an RFC, but don't read an RFC. Like those are important.
Oh no, it's huge. I love it. I did that for the when I first started doing YouTube content, the XML XXE, XML external entity injection. I remember going to the RFC and really like, I want to make sure my verbiage is 100% correct, because I was just so particular about it. So no, there's definitely value there, but it's also, it can be mind numbing for sure.
Yeah. So log in.
Yes. Also shout out Theo. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Glad I caught you. I've been lurking in your streams. I've just been it's been crazy, but it's good to see you. So yeah, login. We can do a quick login here. So we know a known good request, right? Garr, and password is password, right? And so there's a couple things that we could check for here, right? First and foremost, these are the two parameters that I can mess with, right? What happens if I just don't send a password, right? What does it do? Well, the application isn't configured to not have a password not sent. And so in this case, it returns a 400 bad request, right? Well, let's say, obviously, I send a blank password. 302 found dashboard. What's happening here? Wait a minute.
Wait,
I didn't test this.
Okay.
Wait, why is this just working? Because this gave me a session token.
Does it not need a password?
It might not need a password. Let's go ahead and hold on. Hold on. Give me a sec. Hold on, y'all.
Unlock.
So so here we go. Let's go ahead and let's sign up. This was not. I did not know this is a thing. No password. We're gonna make the password something complicated.
All right.
All right. We do need a profile picture. I've tested this.
Okay.
We'll go back to profile logo. So we're gonna log in as let's log in as who do we want from chat? We'll do Fixit, because Fixit was banned on by Nightbot, so some type of retribution.
Nightbot, cursed Nightbot.
Sick. Okay, so we found another vulnerability, Jex.
What?
The vulnerability is an authentication bypass where it doesn't actually validate that the password is existent. And so this is another vulnerability that we found from a web app perspective that doesn't necessarily get us the flag, but we can bypass authentication and log in as whoever. So, for example, let's say Demetrius was an actual person. Okay. Oh, I can drag it. That's pretty sick. Oh, sick. Okay, so now we're just Demetrius. Hold on. So now, Demetrius is an actual application user. So if I go to storage, we can go ahead and take Demetrius's cookie, and now we're Demetrius, and now we found. Just in case, let's just go to matches. And here we are. So we found an auth bypass. This is another way that you're able to get the flag that I had no idea about until just now, which is kind of sick.
That's actually awesome.
Process.
Yeah. Oh my god. And so auth bypass, that so the mindset for that, like if I'm like trying to simplify it for myself, is essentially you were looking at the responses of the login from you're testing whether or not you needed a complicated password or no password or password user, how it could basically be thrown at it so that the you get authenticated. And then you realize that you got a which it was like a 200 or a 302 that allowed you to be like, you logged in with just a name.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the good thing is, like, the nice thing I like about Burp is the repeater tabs tell a story. So if I go back, I can see everything that I've tried, right? So one thing I like to do when I test for login is check, do they validate that these parameters are existent? So just because I have to pass a username and password or from the client doesn't mean I have to to the server directly. So what I like to delete the password completely to see if it even validates that it exists, or if it only checks it if it's presented. So I delete the password parameter, or I'll send a blank password parameter. And I saw when I sent a blank password parameter that there was I got a session token. So I got a session token. I was redirected to the dashboard. So I was like, hold on, wait a minute. And so I tried to fix it with the new user, and it confirmed that it did work. So it did log me in as fix it. And so I tried Renata. Renata didn't work, but Demetrius did work. So Demetrius is a valid user, and we were able to log in as that user. And so the only reason the workflow is just looking and seeing, oh, I have a cookie. Wait a minute. The password is not even validated. So it's only sorry, it's only validated. Or okay, or it just doesn't. It's not validated at all. There's no validation of the password. So it doesn't. Not even that it's blank. It just any password works.
Also, hello, and you're welcome. I will keep posting these as often as I possibly can. Right now we're doing. It's probably a good time to mention this. Right now, our schedule is going to be like bi-weekly. So we're going to have 2 different types of streams. A good moment right after like finding all of this. We're going to be doing a It Takes a Village to Play, which is basically going through our content, but a bit different. And you are more in the driver's seat for that in a lot of different respects. I'm going to try to make it very gamified for chat. And then It Takes a Village to Learn, which is us. This is my favorite stream to do, even with my own stream or anywhere else. Like, this is my favorite stream. So we're going to be doing those twice a month. I'm going to try and rev those up in some way, shape, or form. Mostly, I don't want to. Garr is a very busy man, right? So his time is valuable to me.
Yeah.
But also, like, your time is important to you. You have a lot going on. So I try to be like okay with that. Maybe we have more people like rotate in. That would be fun too. But the learn's gonna just basically be Garr and I. The play, we're gonna probably stack those up a little bit more because we are trying to get to affiliate. We're gonna do our best as Hack the Box, the channel.
Definitely
we're gonna try. But yeah, so I'll be posting very soon the schedule for the next 3 months so that you know. And unfortunately, it's very cursed. And if anybody knows and could help me, I would really wonder if there's a different way to do the calendar on Twitch, or if it always just makes you go infinitely for like 1 day for the schedule. It's just like,
oh yeah, you can't do it day by day. So you can do an individual stream. It's a little tedious. Okay. Maybe there's an API. Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, you can do it day by day. Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Also, I've seen you guys' company on Network Chuck. Yep, we are here. We are Hack the Box. We are right now doing one of our challenges. Well, we're ripping apart this challenge apparently live.
Yeah.
But we haven't stopped yet. So keep watching. We have more that we're doing here. Just hack the calendar. You know what? That's a great idea. I'm gonna, as long as they have a bug bounty program.
Yes.
As Twitch has a bug bounty, and I'm pretty sure they do. That'd be wild if they didn't.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I mean, owned by Amazon, so
Yeah. Okay, so that's wild. Off bypass.
This happens. This definitely. I remember one of my early streams with Angel D. I think I saw Angel in chat, but I remember just doing like going through like Web Security Academy labs and just trying different pen testing techniques and just being like, oh shoot, yep, we found it. Like that works. Oop. You can just do this. And that's the best part is like you just take this methodology does work, just going through and just tackling each thing individually. It's you just kind of look at stuff and something pops out to you. And I mean, you'll take different things from each hacker that you see. I mean, not necessarily just in the YouTube, Twitch space and the content creator space, but colleagues as well too. Everybody has their own methodology. I really think that pen testing in general is an art. We get the same results, but our methodologies are a little different, and certain things about how we do it are a little different. You'll find something that works for you, and my methodology is based off of bits and pieces that I've taken from not just my experiences hacking, but just other testers and other hackers and stuff like that. So you say it takes a village, but my methodology is based off of the village that I've lived in, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was such a good village. By the way, to everybody who is here, who is talking about pen testing for like looking to start or wanting to move forward with that, it is probably one of the coolest communities to be a part of. It's probably one of the richest communities to be a part of. There's a lot of information. If there is a thing that like interests you, there is like a sector of like security or offensive security that you're like interested in, there is a village for you, literally. And that's the crazy part about it. And we are all very open to sharing information. And I do want to kind of go back to something that you said about like everybody has their own, process of doing things. I keep on bringing, I'm like raising, Bus's flag up from like as high as I can, because like
that's what it's about.
That particular instance was a particular program that I went to the live hacking event for when I was still working with the company that ran the program. And like, there were some of the best bug bounty hunters on that program in the world at that event. And based on how two different bug hunters collaborated together, they found something that an entire room of hackers missed. And that's not to say that those people weren't trying or that it was a very like difficult scope, but you know, they tried something different and they got like an entirely like a crown jewel kind of outcome. And so that's the awesome part is just like there's so many different ways people hack in so many different ways, different flavors. We all learn maybe from similar places, but like your methodology is your own. That's why a lot of people share their methodologies with people in any way, shape, or form. I could go on a tangent about that, but I that's just wanted to say that. Can I start with a potato PC though? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can.
Oh, yeah.
Do like over the wire. You don't need really much of anything except like SSH for over the wire.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Or even like web. I mean, you just need a browser and burp. You know, you don't need to do burp professional. Burp community works good, or even Kaido or Zap. You know, and I mean, it's very low. Like now, if you're doing like brute forcing, directory enumeration, it can. I mean, there's not a lot of overhead there, but like hash cracking, of course, like you could save that for something else. But that's not really something you have to really practice. You could definitely potato PC most of this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we got like sub 30 minutes because I don't want to make you late for your next engagement.
Oh yeah, no, appreciate it.
So like, do you think we could crack out like one more vulnerability? What do you say?
Gosh,
or do you think we?
I did not expect to find that.
Yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah, it was pretty sick though.
Okay, then
we can finish the methodology off if you think, or whatever you think makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I asked something because of my own like personal one. You actually kind of did it a bit before, is using dev tools. I love since I was like young, I always accidentally popped into dev tools, and I always wondered like, is this hacking? Can I hack with this? And it turns out you can. Yeah. Justin Gardner and the Critical Thinking Bug Bounty podcast Discord, they just did like a masterclass on using dev tools for hacking. It's something that we could potentially do in a different stream, but like, I don't know. I kind of now I'm very invested in your methodology. I have fork in the road. Chat, what do you want to do? Chat, do you want to continue with methodology since we're on that track, or do we want to check out dev tools?
Yeah. Do I have the ability to poll? No, I'm not. I don't have poll.
Emma, run a poll.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, dev tools are definitely huge, very useful, you know, especially in a pinch when, I mean, there's a lot of different times you could use it. Obviously, like when you're dealing with UI disabled functionality or commented functionality, there's ways you could leverage it. Or if you're in a pinch in the sense that like you're on a client environment and you're not able to install your tools, or you've popped a box and you want to kind of interact with a web app, but you don't necessarily have burp or an interception proxy, and you just want to kind of use it as a normal user, you just quickly F12 and just see what you can do to look at traffic. And you can treat this almost as like a mini interception proxy, right? So, no pull access, no worries.
Oh, dang.
We're going to appreciate the raid. You got a nice raid by SodaTex.
Hey, what's up, SodaTex? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
How was your stream? Wait. I'm trying to think here. There's some things that we need to fix on Twitch for everybody. It includes potentially marbles.
Oh yeah, we have discussed, as those from my stream know, we have discussed the opportunity of marbles. So who knows? Maybe. Yeah. See, they know. Exclamation point play.
They know. Everybody's going for it.
There goes, yeah.
Okay, so we're learning right now all the chat functionalities that we need to. Don't tease us. I'm sorry.
I know, they love it.
I'm learning all the things that I need to bring into our Twitch channel. If this is like the next stream that we do is going to be basically all of you telling me the features that you would like to see within the stream for that particular play stream. For this stream, I definitely just enjoy the time that I get, you know, learning everything that I can from Garr, from my absent-mindedness to learn a little bit more about what's happening on web vulnerabilities, or even with Sherlock's. We're kind of both learning that together in a way, but I don't know. Do you really want? Yeah.
Really quickly, SodaTex, you still here? I just want to kind of quickly real quick. So text, you still here, or did you just raid? So did
Ye-
you just stream Counter-Strike and then raid us at Hack the Box? Am I understanding this timeline of events correctly? Is that what
What?
happened? Just want to make sure that I understand. That's sick. Hold on. That's what we have to shout that out. First of all, shout out Sodatex. Shout out the Counter-Strike community. Huge. And a pen tester. Okay, sick.
Yo.
It's so cool how the worlds collide. I'm a 1.6
Wait, what?
player.
Okay.
That
Could
ages
somebody give me references. I am lost in Twitch
Okay, so,
right now. What's up, Sodatex?
Sodatex is a Counter-Strike player that was streaming Counter-Strike and sent his viewers to our stream for watching Counter-Strike. Isn't that sick, dude? Yeah.
Yo, okay.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Also
Thank you.
Pen tester.
Oh, and a pen tester.
Yeah. So to quickly recap for those that came from the raid, this is Hack the Box, which is a platform for learning cybersecurity related materials, and what we're covering is one of the challenges on the platform called OnlyHacks, and it's a challenge where our goal is to get a flag, but it's basically to hack it or perform a web app pen test or web app. Pen test being penetration test, so trying to hack a website essentially with the goal of obtaining a flag by bypassing certain security controls or exploiting certain vulnerabilities. So those who have no hacking experience whatsoever, that's what we're doing. This challenge is we've already completed the challenge, but we're diving into some of the different ways you can complete it, and we just found one that we didn't even know existed. We were just like, let's look at the login to see how I would normally hack this for a client, and we did that and found a completely we could log in as anybody without providing a password. Anyway, sorry, Jax.
No, that's totally fine. It's just like if I came here, like the part of the It Takes a Village is like Garr is extremely experienced at what he does. Is very, very humble but true. I am very much speaking from the group of foundational people who are just beginning, trying to learn something, and just sort of pushing through all this content together. From my standpoint, if I just got here and I saw all of the war garble that's on the page, I would be like, what? Yeah. No, dude, why? What is this?
Hacks though.
It's only hacks though. Yeah. So in my mind, I was like, okay, so I'm breaking into a Tinder-like application and I'm going to learn how to web presence is everywhere. You use web apps every single day. I do too. Is there ever that one moment where you're like, but what if I do this? What would that do? That is potentially something you get paid for, called bug bounty hunting. Or if you have, expertise in it, you can move over to what Garr does at 7C Security. He consults companies on how vulnerable their applications are through a scope that they deliver to him. They sign an agreement and then he just goes. So yeah, fix it fix it too. Match 3, 2, 1.
Something we have to be very cognizant of is users can sign up. So very cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, users can sign up. So just to know that we definitely some stream brain there. But no, I definitely agree. There's definitely, that's a great call out. There's, especially coming from a stream that's not pen testing or hacking related. So when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, is Sodatex stream Counter-Strike? And so I'm like, I wanted to make sure we talked about that. So
yeah, please. If I'm missing something, just let me know.
No, I'm good.
It's funny because I'm very new to streaming myself. So Garr is legend at doing this stuff. Come on, get.
You know me, you know how I am.
yeah, but you're the content dude. There's a lot of actually really great streamers in this community. Shout out InfoSec Streams. We're probably at the end of this going to raid somebody. So if any of you are streaming right now, we're gonna go to InfoSec Streams and pick somebody from there and go to you. But yeah, I think that this particular, I lost my train of thought. But I'm new to this. I'm new to Twitch streaming in general. So he's been a very good mentor in not only the security aspect, but trying to figure out how to do this, how to interact with chat and whatnot. Raid the paleontologist. We're going to raid the paleontologist.
Yeah. Chad had a good question about going back through the exploit super quickly.
Yeah, of course.
You think we got some time to kind of quickly run through it?
Yes. Yeah,
Sweet.
of course.
Okay, so we're just gonna go through it just from an exploit perspective, not like the steps that we took to find. We're just gonna kind of quickly run through it. So the first thing is, as you register, you can make an account, blah blah blah, and then it's the Tinder based app, and there's a chat bot at the end that we can interact with. First thing we discovered is, even though there is a password component, I can just log in, and I am logged in without entering my password. So it doesn't actually validate the existence of the password, or if the password matches what's technically saved to the server. You can just log in as any user by providing a username with no password. Sick. Very cool. Yeah. Another thing, too, that we've noticed is these chats are referenced via identifier. So this RID of 6 is the chat that we have with Renata. If we go ahead, instead of changing that to 6, we change to another ID, like 5, we get an internal server error. 4, internal server error. But 3 is a chat or is an ID that does exist. So in this case, insecure direct object reference, changing the ID, there's no back-end control saying, hey, this is Garr, and only Garr should be able to access this. It's basically just saying, hey, this is the one that Garr could access, but there's no way he's going to like change that ID to one that he shouldn't access, right? There's no validation on the back end that's preventing it. And so those are two of the quick ways. The XSS one's going to be a little more involved, so I don't know if you want to cover that. Yeah, I just want to cover that real quick. So
Yeah. Thank you for going back over that, because I think that I love when people like come into chat just to see what's happening, but like I love, by the way, anybody who is here who is interested in this, again, I'm going to cut this entire video into a shorter, smaller one that we're going to put on the Hack the Box YouTube channel, so you won't miss any of the like learnings that we had today. And now you're trying to become a hacker. Yeah, everybody should become a hacker in some way, shape, or form. I think hacking can improve a lot of people's lives. Just the mentality, at least.
For the gamers, indeed, Chad. 100%. I love it. But yeah, no, I think I've really enjoyed these streams. I know this is only the second one we've done, but it's just so I'm so stoked, especially when you said it was going to be web app focused. I'm like, heck yeah.
I know.
But yeah, I just love it in general. I mean, the community is just so awesome. I mean, we even had like Soda Text play Counter-Strike Pen Tester rate us. It's just so, this community in general. I know Jax has said it. I want to echo it. The hacking community in general is one of the most welcoming communities I've ever been a part of. If you ever make it out to a convention, highly recommend DEF CON, Black Hat, some of the B-sides that are local, especially more hacking focused. You have the more corporatized ones like Black Hat, for example, or even RSA, and there's still value there, but especially the hacking ones, I feel like you can just take a seat next to somebody who has a similar interest to you, and you never know, you might end up just becoming just friends and working on a course together, or just in the same cohort for something. It's a very welcoming community that rewards curiosity. But especially in this space, in the streaming space. There's a lot of great streamers out there, and I encourage you to check out those other streamers to learn their methodology, get to know them, and hopefully you walk away with some type of either methodology or tip that helps you, or you just meet somebody that you end up being friends with and that you like. Very cool.
Or you just end up in the same stream with them somehow.
Yeah, exactly. That's sick.
Yeah, okay. So from here, what are you feeling like? I am at the behest of your time. Whoop.
Oh, hold on. Where's the music? Where's the Phoenix Wright music?
What happened?
You can't hear it, but I can.
You can.
Was that a marble? Did anybody see that?
That marble?
Did anybody see that?
Sorry, I think Emma's testing on the. Wait. Is Emma? Are you cooking on the back? I
can play Phoenix right now. My goodness.
Wait.
Emma is cooking. Oh, okay.
It's for later.
We didn't see anything. Yeah. We didn't see anything.
Oh no!
Rigged. Is Garr rigged still a thing? Can I type that? I can. Yeah. I saw that. I mean, nobody saw that anyway. So, but yeah, as far as like the remainder, we got what, like 20-ish minutes. We definitely want to leave some time for whatever that was. I don't know if you saw what that was, but
on one thing for to just sort of like pop back into it.
Yeah.
Everybody at the end of the stream, do not leave. Do not go anywhere. We want to either find somebody who is also in our community and rate them, or do something that I was just recently made aware of. There's a particular paleontologist that streams on Twitch. Yeah. I think there's been like a legacy of going to their particular channel and rating them. So that's what we're doing. I just want some extra time to do that eventually at the end.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've definitely participated in that. I go to InfoSec stream, see if anybody's there, and then I end up pivoting to the paleontologist when if nobody else is live. So very, very normal stream etiquette, in my opinion.
Thanks for hanging out, Soda Tex.
Soda Tex,
Thanks for coming in.
raid.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good question.
How do pitchers go from their first noob gig to the next level? Chad Noob.
Do you want to? What do you want to give your thoughts, Jax? You want me to jump on that one? What are you feeling?
So for me, I've only done like project management. I've been on a like a couple of different pen test engagements, but sort of shadowing. I came from the background of like pure security going into threat hunting. Yeah. So I think that's something that you might have a better perspective on.
That's fair. I think it's tough. So there's a lot of like questions I have when you say noob gig, right? Because there's so many different like, it depends. You know, let's say you just got your first job at a consultancy and you're really learning the ropes and you're really trying to understand how consulting, or it's your first gig as a consultant. And so it's like, I guess it depends on your goals. Like if you want to be a higher level consultant and you know, excel in your specific realm of pen testing, whether it be network infrastructure, right? Or AppSec, or maybe you're dealing with hardware or embedded devices and you want to really excel in that field. Well, you know, staying at that consultancy could be great. And then just trying to like leverage your resources there. You know, really the whole goal, I think in general, is to leverage your career to give you the opportunities to just continue just to hack, especially if you love hacking. Like I love hacking. I'm in a position now where I hack, I still hack. I still do all the hacking. I still do, you know, I have my consulting, I have the education side, and then my W-2, I'm still hacking, but I'm also a resource that isn't always hacking related. Like it's hacking related, but I'm not directly always hands-on keyboard. But I love hacking. And for me, like doing the hands-on hacking is what it is. You want to be me when you grow up? That's crazy. I mean, so I always say, Chad's question is, should I lean into AI for those that are just listening? How to kind of get to that next level. I always say that this career this field is a field that rewards your curiosity. And so I only recommend that people dive into things that they're interested in and they find they're having fun with. And so like for me, when I started pen testing, I actually started learning wireless pen testing. So I started hacking access points back in like cafe latte attack days, like hacking WEP way back in the day, and then pivoted to network and web app. And I didn't like network as much, but web app, I just loved AppSec. I loved getting a website and just breaking it. And I just dove into that super, super heavy. And then that was my job. And now that I was working that as a job in my spare time, I decided to try other things. Like I started getting into embedded device and started getting into IoT and things of that nature. I even did some blockchain stuff for a while. And then now Gen AI is where I'm at. And so I really, really enjoy this field because it rewards your curiosity. Even if you just do some research in a space and that doesn't necessarily give you money, like it still is improving your skill set, and it can be a skill set that you could offer for a company or for a client. And so yes, AI is the hot stuff right now. People love hearing AI and people hate hearing AI. But regardless, organizations are introducing it into their tech stacks, into their orgs, and it's here to stay. So if you find yourself like, I would try it, you know, see if you like it. And if you do like it, then there is value there. There's definitely value. I will say though, when it comes to hacking AI, specifically generative AI, it is more application focused. A lot of times you're seeing applications that leverage a back-end Gen AI model. So it's a molding of, or like a convergence of two things. So you do have to have some AppSec comfortability, which is perfect for me. Obviously, I love AppSec. So yeah, but I would only do it if you enjoy it. If you hate it, it's not worth your time, because AI hacking is tedious, but all hacking is tedious if you don't enjoy it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like running up a hill that gets like muddier and muddier if you're not like there for it. You know, you won't enjoy the slog up if it's not already something that you're having like a great like time doing, or you're like not feeling that constant like motivation of like, oh, what comes next? I need to know what comes next. Jack, should a red teamer go through the CDSA spoilers? Yes. I am obliged by Hack the Box in my contract to say.
You touched on that point. Before I forget, real quick, you mentioned the slog of going up that muddy hill. So like I deal with imposter syndrome heavy. Like that's something that I have developed coping mechanisms that I've lost, that I've redeveloped. And so and I felt that today. Like I felt today, I'm like, I have multiple presentations I'm doing today. And I'm like, am I the guy for this? Like, can I do this?
Yeah.
And I had to kind of lean into those coping mechanisms. But one thing that I've realized, I've been hacking for a long time. Like Neospring said, has app hacking changed? It has. I think it has changed over the last 10 years. But one thing I've noticed is for me, motivation comes in waves. So it definitely comes in waves. I'll be super stoked on something, and then I'm just like, you know what? I'm really not digging this. And it gets really kind of like, it almost feels like that's when the imposter syndrome is really heavy. And so one piece of advice that I give myself that I want to impart to the community, if it's helpful, is to ride those waves. So when you have that inspiration, definitely jump on it. Even if it's something that you think might be dumb. You're like, man, I really want to try hardware hacking, but like, I don't have the tools for it. I don't have the resources. They're there, and there's ways you can do it for cheap. So if you feel even a little bit inspired, see if you can get your work to kind of help fund some of it, or see if there's people in the community that are willing to help contribute to that or point you in the right direction. Like, you're not always going to be inspired, but the times that you do are super valuable. So latch onto those and take advantage of them for sure.
I completely agree. Also, Retro World, hey, what's up? Thank you for joining us. Where can you learn cybersecurity? I've been saying this the entire day. There's different places that you can do that. This stream particularly is for a company called Hackthebox. We teach cybersecurity stuff. And if you go to app.hackthebox.com, you can sign up with an account and just start perusing yourself. I suggest if you're going from the very beginning, go to the Academy. That will teach you like from zero. There's free modules that you can take to sort of like start learning how the technology all comes together and then move you into security. That is the first time I've done like an ad today, but like it's true. There's a ton of places to learn in security in general. But if you want a good starting point, and because it is our stream, like just try that out. And if that doesn't work, there's still way more out there for you. So I am determined. I am absolutely determined to send our chat to this paleontologist. I don't see anybody on InfoSec streams right now. Okay. That's totally okay. But like, just the thought of it. He's not streaming right now either. Wait, there's wait. He was just on. Oh no. Jeez. Oh no. Where does the chat go now? Wait, no, it says he's live. He's live.
Oh.
Yeah. I see his face.
Oh, sick.
He's doing things. Yeah, it ended early. Oh, maybe it did end early, but I'm seeing him right now. Maybe it is. Oh. I'm delayed. It looks like it's live. I mean,
if you're seeing it live, then yeah, I can try to pull it up too.
Everybody who's been here today, I'm going to again cover all of this. If you've been here, I'm going to turn all this into a shorter video so that if you did miss the majority of it and you do want to see what we went through, I'm definitely including that extra bug that you found and put it all into a very condensed 10-15 minute video for you to observe and consume. But yeah, do you have any like last minute things? Also, we would like to drop Garr's particular channels, because Garr does do streaming from time to time. And we'd want to be able to I want to share his channel, his praises, so that you can see some of his content. Let me send Emma the links that I have for your channels.
I never put my X on there, my Twitter or whatever it's called. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I'm just Garr and Twitter, or Garr_7.
Okay.
I guess. But no, I appreciate that. I mean, I always appreciate the opportunity just to hang out with you, and being here is always super cool. It's just cool being on the Hack the Box stream, being able to dive into a challenge, and I love interacting with chat. I love interacting with everybody here. And yeah, I definitely plan to be back as long as y'all have me. Oh my goodness. It is a screen I'm very familiar with.
Oh,
yes.
We did it.
We did do it. I'm just going to throw this. Am I cool to send my Discord? Is that chill?
Yeah. Cool. Go ahead. Nightbot's been doing ours like rapid fire, so please go ahead.
So !play, first of all, because it's important for you to get into this marbles. I don't know what it's for, but it is a marbles thing. This is my Discord if you're interested. If you ever have any questions, like let's say you're getting into hacking, great community, but you can always reach out to me. Like I'm always willing to try to be a resource if I can. Like Jex mentioned, it's been busy lately, and so it's gonna take me a bit to get to you. But I promise I'll make it a point to try to get back to you when I can. And this is my X, if you're interested, X/Twitter. I hate that I call it X now. Anyway.
No. So I did the same thing. Okay, so I want you to finish your statement, but get into this, please. Everybody play, because this is actually for a giveaway. The way that I read it, it's so the top one will get a year VIP plus. If you get first, 1 month VIP plus for second to fourth place. So
that's crazy.
Get in the chat.
If I win,
friends.
Yeah. If I win, I will double whatever it is and give it to somebody else.
Oh,
I will match it. That is a Garr 7 promise right there.
I want to just observe how this goes.
Christy,
show me the magic of marbles. Now that we have it, this is perfect.
Okay, so one thing I do like to do now, we won't get it now, but it's always fun to have like racing music. So I'll throw on some like different video game racing music. We won't have it right now, but the technology will be eventually available to some extent. But it's still fun. It's still a good time. So 16 seconds, exclamation point play, get in the giveaway. A year VIP plus, please. Exclamation point play, get in there. Do it.
Spread the word. If you have a friend. 6, 5, 4,
this is it.
3, 2. Good luck, everyone. So what am I watching here?
All right, let's see. So, okay. So it's all based off physics engine. That's what's happening. These are all different. Am I in there? Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
What is happening?
So we're in some type of apparatus. Oh, okay. I see. We're being poured out of the beaker. Oh, pebble?
This is incredible.
Okay. All right, Chabby Noob leading the pack. Oh, pebble. Okay.
Oh, pebble.
Oh, so it's having trouble kind of seeing who's first because there's different there's a Z-axis.
Yeah.
Right now, it looks like Chad's holding down the fort, but it looks like there's some other people on the left side that we're not seeing.
It's like Rune Goldberg machine.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Huh?
Oh, Christy with the pay-to-win marble, of course.
Ooh.
Chad, rest in peace. GG.
R.I.P. Chad.
Wow, a lot of rest in pieces there.
Fix it, coming through.
Okay, fix it, holding it down for the
underground.
See if fix it can maintain.
R.I.P.
Ooh, okay.
Cypher Enigma, no.
Simon Majokum. I'm number 5 right now. Oh my gosh! Please imagine if I win and then I have to double the giveaway. That's great. My accountant is gonna be so upset.
Yeah, but you know what? I know you're a man of your word.
I am. Yeah, this is not my first rodeo.
Bus Factor. What? Simon?
Oh, Simon, kind of clean right now.
Damn. It's so. Fix it.
Clean.
Back it down. Oh. Simon.
Where's the end?
Yeah, it looks like we're getting towards the end. Oh, R.I.P. Wait.
Oh, hold on.
Oh man, they just
in some type of
no, fix it. Oh wait,
additional...
I keep on seeing it, thinking that they're shooting off the side. My God.
So Dooku's just killing it. Dooku and Fix It right now. Fix It's consistently been a contender.
Fix It's just been there. Oh, pulling ahead.
Oh, Fix It. Let's see it.
Oh,
in the blender.
Oh,
no
way.
Fix It.
Oh,
wait, hold on.
Wait.
Oh yeah, Fix It with the dub. Fix It number 1. Hit him.
Fix It. Hit him.
Dooku
and
You're rising.
Hey, let's go.
GG's.
I'm so okay. Now I see the appeal.
You get it? Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, GG's everybody. Prizes will be doled out to you. Let me see.
Obvious cheats. Yeah, 100%.
They were hacking the entire time. Whoa. All right. Whoa.
Yeah, we have a rigged emote specifically for that case to express your opinion that they have cheated to win. Garr 7. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. I am ready to make the Dinosaur Man's day.
Yes.
Emma, do we need any more time to send out anything, or are we chill to raid? I'm gonna wait for her response. Shoot me an email at Emma. Okay, perfect.
Oh, Jamin's asked if it's being recorded, and if I understand correctly, we're going to be chopping it up and putting it on YouTube. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'm going to be chopping up the entirety of all the stream and making it like a 10 to 15 minute video based off all of the really fun bits. of learning that we got from today. Before we jump over there, Garr, thank you a million times for coming to this stream and doing this stream with us. Your knowledge and understandings of like everything we went through today, super critical. And I couldn't thank chat enough for being here today. The ones that always show up, I appreciate you so much. In some way, shape, or form, going to find a way to reward you for that. Stay tuned. There's a lot that I have to work on for Twitch, but it's coming. Everything's gonna be here. Let's go. Do you have anything, Garr? Because I'm like amped to see Dinosaur Man get excited about this.
I'm excited too. I'm unfortunately gonna have to miss it because I have something to hop to. But no,
I'll record it for you.
No, yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate you, Jax. It's just good hanging with you. Honestly, if I'm being like a little selfish, and I just enjoy the time just hanging out. And Hack the Box. I appreciate y'all. Honestly, just being here is just awesome. Chat's been super great, interactive. And it's just great seeing so many familiar faces and new faces too. I definitely want to be here more often. I've been wanting to get back into streaming for a long time, and this is a nice way to kind of be able to get into it and do it together, especially like us arm in arm, just tackling these challenges. It's like it's such a great way to spend a Wednesday. I appreciate you, and you'll definitely be seeing more of me soon for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much. And the next stream is on the 9th of next month, guys. But that's the Takes a Village to Play. We're all going to be coming together and figuring out more about how we want to put this together. That's what that stream is about. And then after that is it's bi-weekly. So after the 9th, it will be 2 Wednesdays after that.
I think we've rated.
Oh, we rated? Sweet. Oh, wait. So I do get to see Dinosaur Man. All right.
Are we going?
Just say that you're from Hack the Box. Haha.
Yes, we have. I think we are officially not live. I think we are now rated. Is that correct?